Happy Tuesday and welcome to the Safe Communities Committee meeting for June 1st, 2021. I am the chair, Larkin Eggleston. We have got two committee members on as well as one special guest, other council member with us. Ms. Ajmera has informed me that she will be joining us but will be a few minutes late. I presume the same for Ms. Watlington, but we're going to go ahead and get started out of respect for everybody's time. So if we can start our introductions here in the room with those present in person in CH14, then go to our committee members, other council members, and other guests on the WebEx in that order, please.
Okay. Victoria Johnson, City Manager's Office.
Emily Kunze, City Manager's Office.
Larkin Eggleston, Committee Chair.
Donata Jackson, Office of Constituent Services.
Committee members online.
Renee Johnson, District 4.
Greg Phipps, Committee Member at Large.
Other council members.
Braxton Winston, serving at large.
And other folks joining us on the WebEx.
Federico Rios, Office of Integration.
Dave Harris, CMPD.
All right, I believe that's everybody. We will let Ms. Ajmera and Ms. Watlington introduce themselves as they're able to join us, but we'll jump right in. We've got two updates on things we've been talking about over the course of the last couple of committee meetings. Ms. Kunze, is there anything you want to cover before we jump into the street racing discussion?
Sure. I was just going to give you a quick overview to the committee. As you mentioned, the first item is street racing. Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department conducted a multi-agency operation over several months to crack down on street racing activities around Charlotte and surrounding areas that resulted in more than 50 arrests and 60 vehicles seized. CMPD will share more information about the work that went into and resulted from this operation. And the final item on the agenda is an update regarding the Family Justice Center, now known as the Umbrella Center.
Thank you. And a reminder for our committee members and council members, I've got the WebEx tool pulled up as well. So if you'll use the hand raise function in that, then at the conclusion of this first presentation, we'll take any questions or comments on that. And then we'll move on to the Family Justice Center discussion. So with that, I believe Chief Jennings and Captain Harris are going to lead us off on the street racing discussion.
Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Captain Dave Harris. I'm over the special events and the transportation divisions. I've been with the department about 21 years. Going to touch base on our street racing operation. Fall of last year, we started seeing an increase in calls for service involving aggressive driving, street racing, loud mufflers, anything car related that you can imagine. Initially, this was seen as a division level problem. Certain divisions had more of it depending on the area, what types of problems they were. It was hard to identify as a citywide problem because the calls came in such a different variety of activities. We saw a lot in the Steel Creek area where there's a lot of business parks that aren't used at night and on weekends, as well as quite a bit of activity in the South Division near 485 and also up in the University and North Divisions near 485 where there's those wide get up a lot of speed. With their own smaller operations go in and and hinder these meetups. Just continue to grow and spread his office, etc. These small areas of Charlotte. An organized operation to try to hinder this, because doing it at division levels and writing a ticket here and there wasn't having an impact, and clearly was not stopping the problem. So even as we began to put together operations to try to stop this, the problem kept escalating. And as you'll see in our next slide, you'll see some video from I-77. It's pretty shocking.
You want to ask them if they can see the slides?
Are you able to see the video?
I-77 southbound shut down by drag racers
Yeah,
and
go
people
ahead.
doing burnouts.
So this video and the next video are both from the same incident, which is I-77 on a Friday night. And as you can see, this is some pretty blatant disregard for public safety.
A woman told
I don't know about you guys, but I drive on I-77 almost daily. My family uses I-77, I-85, 485. And this was an impossible situation for us to deal with, because as you can see in the videos, eventually they even blocked the shoulders. So there was no law enforcement, no public safety vehicles of any kind would have been able to get there had there been an emergency. Advertisements for further gatherings and
Okay.
Okay, if we're ready for slide 4, late January, early February, such as when that video occurred, was about time I took over transportation. We started trying to put together, for lack of a better term, a task force. It was a multi-tiered approach. What we wanted to do was have a long-term stop to this situation with some lasting consequences for the people taking part. We started with our transportation unit, which specifically included the motors unit, which is our motorcycle officers that you see around doing a lot of traffic enforcement, as well as the DWI task force, as well as their sergeants. In addition, in uniform, we borrowed resources from all of the divisions in the city. So some of them have individual traffic officers. Some of them were just able to give us patrol officers to assist with the manpower needs. That, as you can see, the numbers of people taking part in this, it was going to require quite a significant response. We also had an undercover element. Their use was purely to gather information. They went to a lot of these meetups where we can see pictures of here on this slide. There would be meetups of literally hundreds of cars with, 3 to 4 people in each of them. So several hundred people at a gathering. I went to a couple myself, my lieutenant did. And it was literally like a scene from the Fast and the Furious. People just lining the streets, DJs playing music, just all kinds of craziness, which in and of itself seemed okay until you throw in the dangerous driving, the hooning as they call it, which is when they would take over intersections and do donuts and spin outs in the middle of the street. And they would do these with people standing all along the sides. I mean, one wrong turn and somebody was going to be splattered on a building. One thing I want to point out with the undercover element, we did not participate in any of this. It was purely blending in with the crowd, taking pictures, gathering information. That was their only aspect of the investigation, befriending some of the participants. We use our intelligence unit to kind of corral all of this information. They could identify people from photographs, tags that were taken at these gatherings, and keep up with all of our information as we started to gather our casework. Had a really good group of supervisors, sergeants from all of those divisions, as well as myself, a lieutenant, and support all the way up the chain. Even the patrol officers that worked it. And something I want to express is most of these people that participated almost across the board volunteered to participate in this because they saw the need for it for the safety of the public, which is all of our primary goal. And then lastly, we also had an additional partnership with the DA's office, specifically ADA McNeil. We wanted to make sure that these cases were prosecuted as part of this racing and aggressive driving campaign, not just as one reckless driver or one speeder here or there. We wanted to make sure that it was shown that this was part of this larger picture, not just someone that messed up one of thing, just rumor mill or confidential information. April 19th, we were able to take a few months to the grand jury. We went back. We received charged via warrant or citation notifications from signed by a judge for seizing cars of these participants. So on May 5th, we had a briefing. We used all of our street crimes units, crime reduction units, transportation, multiple outside agencies where they received packets that had their suspect information, vehicle information, including pictures of the car, pictures of this person that we wanted involved with these incidents. And we did a safety briefing where we expressed that this was going to be a friendly campaign, as friendly as possible, knocking on doors. Every single one of these packets had a search warrant, which would allow us to go on the curtilage of the property to get the car if we could see it. We were not going to kick any doors. We were not going to have any type of situation. And in addition, we had outside agencies. So all of our surrounding counties, we had the Gaston County Police, Cabarrus County Sheriff's Department, Iredell Sheriff's Department, Union County, Huntersville, Matthews, and even York, South Carolina assisted with this. And they got the same briefing. They attended our briefing. They knew that we wanted to keep this as a safe operation. We weren't going to be doing anything crazy. If a suspect came to the door and looked at us out the window and didn't want to talk to us, we just backed the tow truck up and took the car anyway. So on May 6th, 0500, we started knocking on doors, backing tow trucks up to houses. We made arrests if we were able to make contact with the suspect at the residence or at another location that we knew they were known to go to. And we actually had quite a bit of success. We did not have a single use of force, not a single fight or incident. Obviously, there were some upset people, but most of them actually gave us the keys because they were so concerned about their cars. These were their babies, which reinstilled that we were doing something that would matter and make an impact on this. We made 50 arrests that day, and in the next couple of days, and seized 65 of the 85 cars that we received seizure orders on. There's still about 13 individuals wanted. We're missing about 20 cars. We have since found out that a few of them have been wrecked and totaled, surprisingly. We have found out that a few of them have been sold or repossessed, so some of them we may never get. But if they're not on the road racing, we've even seen social media posts where they've posted giving us obscene gestures with their car behind them in the garage, which that's totally fine too. It's not out on the road endangering my family, your family, or anyone else in the general public. So pretty good roundup there. I believe we've seen slide 6. We can go on to slide 7. Additionally, over the course of the operation, we did more than 2,500 traffic stops, which included 3,500 violations. 2,100 were for speeding, 400 were for reckless, 32 DWIs, and 10 for spontaneous racing. I'd like to note that of all those reckless, a lot of those were probably actually spontaneous racing or possibly even prearranged, but having enough to make that the case sometimes was prohibitive because you have to be able to know who they were racing. So we witnessed the type of activity and driving that went along with it and made the charges as appropriate. If we can go to slide 8. Here you see a copy of a letter. This letter was sent out to every single person that we identified as participating in any of these activities. They may not have raced. They may not have necessarily hooned or committed a criminal act themselves. However, they were there. Either they or the car registered to them was there. So if you let your son use your car and he was going to these meets and doing crazy stuff with his friends, you might have gotten one of these letters saying cease and desist. And it had several of the general statutes involved in this listed out and letting you know. Some of you may have received some inquiries about why people got these letters. Almost all of them went to the right people. I've dealt with one or two where someone loaned their car out But I've dealt with mostly ones where they claimed, oh, I don't know why I got this letter. But then when I say, well, why am I looking at this picture of you from this particular date? They don't really have an answer to that. So they may still roll in occasionally. Obviously, this is a pretty high impact. If we can go to slide 9 and play the video. If you want to let me know when the video's done.
Burnouts, reckless driving, and organized street racing. It's a growing trend seen across the country and in the Queen City. This is video Charlotte-Mecklenburg police shared of street races happening all over the city.
We would often encounter large groups of vehicles.
Wendy, please let us know when the video is over.
These gatherings would number in the hundreds.
And while it might look like a scene from The Fast and the Furious, no one can control the ending.
People who just absolutely had total disregard for the safety of themselves and for others.
Some of those races ended in crashes. So before anyone gets seriously hurt, police hit the brakes. They charged 54 people with prearranged racing, and that charge authorizes police to seize the cars used in the offense. 60 cars have been confiscated, and there's a chance they won't hit the pavement again.
The defendants and the vehicles will eventually become part of a court case that goes before a judge, and a judge will determine the ultimate outcome of these vehicles. But that could include permanent seizure.
We're probably pretty close to the end of that video. I think there's no question it was a success. It's had a great impact on the at least the amount of posting and organized activities. There's still stuff going on occasionally, but as far as whether or not we made an impact on this organized, dangerous stuff, I think the next video, if we can go to slide 10, this is a car seat guy, Knockout 360, who had a response to this a couple of weeks later.
Car scene here in Charlotte is dead. I'm not going to say that CMPD and the state troopers of North Carolina killed the car scene, but whatever message they wanted to send, it was received.
Okay. Sums it up for us with the spreading that this is not something that can be tolerated from the citizens, your constituents, that I myself, even in my neighborhood, have seen. 11 will show the aftermath of that race. We still come out at 2 in the morning, do these races. I don't know about you guys, but this happening on North Tryon Street, just a little ways from IKEA, is pretty scary to me. Picturing some family going there to buy a dresser for their 5-year-old and getting wiped out by these guys. You know, fortunately, it was just them involved. The suspect the other driver actually has turned himself in since then, once we put out another media post saying, look, this is what happens with these races. This is why we need to put a stop to this. So I think the feedback from the public has been great. I've even made a stop myself on the way home on the 18th. Saw some guys racing. They were going so fast that I was scared to try to keep up with them and let them go. And fortunately, I was in the express lane and they got stuck in traffic. So I was able to get over and get some North Division officers to help me. We stopped one and had him arrested. We aren't able to seize that car, but it at least made the point. And as soon as I walked up to the car, the first thing he said to me was that he wasn't racing, it was the other guys. So he must have just been driving 120 just for the fun of it. But overall, very successful. We really appreciate the support. I think we got it from all levels, including from your offices. It took some patience, but I think the patience paid off with the impact we were able to make in the overall scene. Are there any questions?
Thank you. 2 things. One, I want to acknowledge Councilmember Wallington is on with us now. And for me, I guess, I assume there's an ongoing focus on this, although I'm glad to hear that, at least anecdotally, in the couple of weeks since some of this went down, we are observing less of this activity. I hope that maintains. But what can the public expect as far as continued efforts around this is question number 1 for me. And then number 2 would be, we've got Councilmember Winston on, who's one of the co-chairs of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee. Are there things that we need to be advocating for to particularly our state representatives and senators in our Mecklenburg delegation and beyond for strengthening rules? Is there anything in state law that is or isn't there that you guys need as you're doing this work? Is there something that we could be pushing for that would help you be more effective at curbing this activity?
I think from my experience, and this is a broader statement, I would say, than just these specific laws, but it's just, as we tried to do here, is hold the people accountable. If it goes to court, they get their car back and they're told don't do that again, but then they're free to go do it again. That's going to happen. So I think that all of you helping us by listening to the public and the outcries of what a problem this is, and saying we need to hold these folks accountable when it does come to court, which ultimately obviously will be up to a jury and a judge since these were grand jury indictments. I think that's the main thing. It's just holding a level of accountability to the people involved and showing them keeping these cars. That's going to hit them where it counts and stop the activity. As to your questions for maintenance, I've got plans for the transportation unit to still do these periodic. We're monitoring all the same stuff that we were monitoring before, so that if there is a flare up of posting and kind of in your face, we're going to do this anyway. But like we saw in the video from Knockout 360, I think the message was received. I'd be curious to see how it is in the surrounding counties since they assisted us. I haven't had contact with them in the last couple of weeks. I'd like to see if it's curbed the behavior in some of their jurisdictions as well.
And Mr. Chair, if I can also weigh in on this a little bit. I think when we first started this, there were a lot of questions as, what can we do as council and do we need to pass an ordinance? And I was pretty adamant that state laws are sufficient enough, and this is a result of that. So I recently had a retreat with other major city chiefs that every one of them are having the same issue. None of them across the country have been able to affect it like we have. They're coming up with different techniques, but I think that's attributed to our state laws that we have in place, our Chapter 20 laws that allow us to do this, and we'll do it again if we have to. So I think the message is out there that if you're going to do this in Charlotte, you take a very high risk of losing your vehicle. But what we do need to do, like the captain said, is to ensure that these vehicles are not given back so they can go back and do the same thing.
One other question that sparked for me, and then Mr. Phipps has got a question as well. I did want to acknowledge Ms. Ajmera has joined us as well now, so we've got our whole contingent. If these cars are to go back, is there a process by which we or somebody can ensure that they are street legal? I would guess that is there anything that we can do to make sure they're not getting the cars back with those parts, if that's true?
Including with the stipulation that they are street legal, that they get them inspected to be street legal. Now, what we can work with the district attorney's office to ensure that if the intent is to give the vehicle back, that stipulation is in place.
Thank you. Mr. Phipps.
Chief, did I understand you to say that none of these cases have been prosecuted yet?
That's correct. They're all pending at this point.
The court dates seem to be popping up around October. The charging officer, that's when his court date was going to be. And so that's when most of them are rolling around. Some are trying to push stuff forward with lawyers, et cetera, before that. But that seems to be with COVID just ending and everything when most of these cases are starting to come up. So we bought at least the summer, hopefully, of peace.
Okay. Now, I thought on one of those slides you mentioned that at least 20 vehicles are still subject to seizure. Do you have any any tag numbers or visual pictures of these vehicles or anything similar
Yes,
to
sir.
like a? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sorry. Yes, all of these are still in our database. Originally, we were going to put them into the tag readers, but the risk we ran with those is A lot of these at this point that are still outstanding, some are out of town, so they're not necessarily on the run. They're just at the coast or wherever they may be. A lot of these guys, though, when we initially started trying to do the enforcement, particularly at the division level, they're not stopping. So the inherent risk to the public, just by turning on our lights, trying to stop them in traffic, we felt like the safety of the public outweighed us getting this car at that exact moment. So we're still having our transportation unit and the crime reduction units from the individuals where they live attempting to locate periodically. Like I said, we're getting posts of these guys giving us gestures from their garages with their car behind them. So we know, or some garage, maybe not necessarily at their own residence, but so we know they're out there. And again, several of them have come back as being wrecked, totaled, or repossessed once this happened. They just put their hands up, I guess, and gave it up.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Oh, sorry, my mic was off. Ms. Johnson, you had a question?
I did, thank you. I just wanted to thank CMPD for their hard work in addressing this issue. I had a town hall with the chief and several officers. It seems like it's been over a year ago. So this is one of the problems that we heard a lot about in the university area. So I want to thank you for your work on this. I also wanted to ask if there's anything the public can do to help maintain this. They were very instrumental in sending the videos and contacting us and taking this to the media and really bringing awareness to this. So is there anything, should they still reach out to their community liaisons when they see this, or how can we maintain the safe streets from a public perspective? What should they be doing?
Yeah, so thank you for that. I'll let Captain also speak on it, but I think what they've been doing is certainly appropriate with the videos and sending that to us, and keep staying in touch, because if this starts to flare up, we want to make sure we know it on the front end. So, you know, unfortunately, I wasn't able to, when I was giving updates and doing town halls and things, I wasn't able to give the full details, but hopefully I was able to keep everybody at least abreast of some of the information to know that we were dealing with it. But the public should continue to be vigilant out there, because this is a very serious safety concern for us. I don't know if the captain has anything he wants to add.
I would just echo what the chief said. And I know it's the oldest answer in the book, but tell them to keep calling 911 and keep calling their division offices. If we don't know about it, it's harder to find it and do it, especially as busy as everything is these days. But like I said, we're going to continue to try to do some maintenance on it. The more specific and concrete information we have, and then just like all of you had to do that the chief mentioned, is be patient. I don't know of any situation that we ignore. It's just a matter of how do we come up with a solution and solve it with a long-term solution. Some stuff we can handle right now. Some stuff needs a long-term answer. So hopefully we've done that. But continue to call, continue to share the information as many of you have since this. Positive feedback and areas where we still have concern is the way we can deal with it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. I don't see any other hands up, so unless there are any other questions, we will move on to the next presentation. But I echo Ms. Johnson's thanks, and I think we all do, for a really visible success on this effort, and hopefully one that not only showed the community how serious we're taking it, but showed the participants of these races how serious we're taking it, and that this is not the place they should come to do this sort of idiotic and very unsafe stuff. So thank you to all of the CMPD team that worked on this. All right. I don't think we have any other questions, so we will move on to our family.
Meeting on May 4th on a couple issues, including what was from the Family Justice Steering Committee. And so Victoria Johnson and myself that meeting. The city is very interested in finding a way to collaborate on this project, but in order to move forward, we need more information, a more detailed budget, operations plans, location and land acquisition information. And these are things that the county is also looking for in order to move forward. And we really want to follow the county's lead, since they are the lead agency that deals with domestic violence prevention. The city is committed to continued collaboration with the county and see what we can do to move this project forward. We will continue to have conversations with the county and the steering committee and continue to provide you updates as this moves forward. But right now, that's where we are at. We just need more information so that we can find out how we can be effective partners. And I'm sorry, I failed to mention that this was all summarized in a memo from the city manager that went out Friday afternoon to the committee, so hopefully you've all had an opportunity to review that. Victoria, did you want to add anything else?
No, as Emily said on the May 18th meeting, it did help us clarify. As the county said, Mr. Troutman made it very clear that the county is going to participate at $10 million, and at the same time they're waiting for data out of the Survivor Center, a detailed budget, operational budgets, and other things in order to make that contribution to it. But they are ready once those things are in place, and that's why we'll be further meeting and talking with them, so we'll be consistent going forward with what the requests were.
Thank you. I think probably to a person, we all see the value in this potential co-housing of organizations that are serving this population and all doing great work. So I think we will continue. And if anybody's got any questions, put a hand up and we'll get them. But I think the memo from the manager was pretty clear that we do understand the value and the potential in this idea and in this partnership. And we are certainly very interested as the city of Charlotte in being a partner in that effort. But I think, as he outlined in that memo, was outlined just now, there's more work to do before we get to a point where the city's involvement could actually spark the start of that project. So hopefully they will continue to make progress as they have been. They'll continue to get us more information that's needed. And I think we all hope this is something that will culminate in the vision that they have set out and us being a part of it. Does anybody on any committee members or council members have any questions for Ms. Kunze, Ms. Johnson on this? I see Ms. Ajmera. Yeah, Ms. Ajmera.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I was reviewing the memo over the weekend, and I noticed that really the funding is an issue because of the way it's being structured, where the real estate would be on the county's name. So it's hard for us to get financing when it comes to our capital bond issuance or even pay-go funds. So if we can get some clarity around what could be the potential source of funding that could be used for this, knowing that this is going to be a little bit of a different deal where the real estate will be in county's name. So what are the options that we have? Even though the ask has been reduced to $5 million, really what options does that leave us? Thank you.
Good question. We'll try to get some clarity on that before we take up this conversation again. Anybody else have any questions on that? Not seeing any. So with that, we have made good time, and as everyone's well aware, with the change in our council calendar to move the summer schedule up, we will not have a meeting next month. Actually, our next meeting will be on Tuesday, September 7th, barring any changes. So we can maybe get that update that Ms. Ajmer has asked for at that time, and I'm sure by September there will be some other item that we have decided to take up between now and then. So hopefully we have put the street racing issue to bed. We will find out over the course of the summer, but again, great work by CMPD, and thank you all for being here. If there's nothing else outstanding, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All right. I will presume everyone is in favor, and you can log off, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Happy June, and happy Pride.
Bye-bye.